want to support this motion, Honorable Speaker, on issues East Africa, Honorable Speaker. This motion was moved last week, Honorable Speaker, and it raises fundamental issues relating to the East African community, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, being a member of the Regional Integration Committee, there are a number of issues we are grappling with as a committee, and this report really touches on some of those issues. The first one, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of the budgets, the financing of the Commission, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the member countries are facing serious challenges in terms of paying their subscription to the Commission, Honorable Speaker. And as a result of this issue of inadequate budgets, Honorable Speaker, a number of our planned programs and activities are not able to be undertaken, Honorable Speaker. We've been asking ourselves, what can we do as a committee to support this East Africa community, Honorable Speaker? The country trade, Honorable Speaker. We know some countries are getting more in terms of trade as opposed to others. The other fundamental question we're asking ourselves is, since some countries are doing more business with the others, and the balance of trade is actually in favor of some countries, then could it also make a lot of sense for those countries who are doing some trade with the others to pay for those who are not doing very well in terms of paying their annual subscription, Honorable Speaker? The third issue, Honorable Speaker, which is critical, is the issue of, is it time then we also impose some levy to the exports and the imports, just as we have done with the road levy, Honorable Speaker, where we levy we get some money from the levy and it assists in maintaining our roads in Kenya. Could we have such a levy which is imposed on the imports and exports within the East Africa community, and the amounts raised out of that levy, Honorable Speaker, are channeled to supporting the activities of the East Africa community? Why am I saying that, Honorable Speaker? Because, Honorable Speaker, we've discovered that there are lots of East Africa community organs, some relating to science, technology, and innovation, others focusing on judicial issues, others focusing on health issues. We also have centers of excellence, Honorable Speaker, for this community. And the question is, if we are not able to fund these important organs of the community, then automatically it means they remain not active, not effective, and as a result of that, you have a lot of administrative staff being in all these countries, Honorable Speaker, and they're not being paid in good time. So these are the issues, Honorable Speaker, we are saying. So even as I support this report, Honorable Speaker, I think as a House, we really need to rally behind this Committee of Regional Integration, Honorable Speaker, and see how we can support the matters budget. And that's I think that's why my chair is appealing to the Foreign Affairs Committee and the Budget Committee, so that we have a deliberate move, Honorable Speaker, or a deliberate strategy to enhance financing of the community. If we go that direction, Honorable Speaker, we'll make this community be active and we'll be able to live the spirit of the community, Honorable Speaker. Otherwise now, we are not living the spirit of the community, and I think really if we are not able to address these issues, Honorable Speaker, then I think it might make sense for us to say then we don't have to have a community which is not operational. Do we do away with it, or what do we do with it? With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support. Thank you so much.
Member for Moiben, are you on this? Honorable Barto.
Madam Speaker, no, not really. I wanted to speak
Very
on
well.
an earlier matter.
Honorable Member for Mukurweini.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, very much for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I have a big problem with the EAC as a community. And you will recall when we had Mwai Kibaki as the President of the Republic of Kenya, there's a time when we mooted the idea of having a strong EAC, and a roadmap was drawn, Honorable Speaker, what many considered to be a very ambitious roadmap. Timelines were well laid out, and what was supposed to be achieved in a couple of years was full integration, whereby the East African communities would come together and have some kind of integration, not only economically, but also politically, and also infrastructure-wise. But if you look at how we have progressed, we seem to have achieved only one issue, whereby we have an East African passport as members of East Africa community. Beyond that, Honorable Speaker, it's very difficult to be able to point out the benefits that we have accrued as member states. I dare say it's probably more beneficial whereby we have bilateral relations between East Africa countries, two at a time, rather than when we are having this multilateral engagement as an economic bloc. It doesn't seem to be working very well. If you look at what is happening in Tanzania, whereby they have raised requirements which one need to subscribe to before they get employed in their country. Honorable Speaker, that negates the very essence of having this EAC protocol. Honorable Speaker, we were supposed to also have some kind of integrated infrastructure. We started an SGR program where we were supposed to interlink the port of Mombasa with Uganda all the way to other East African countries. But again, that has stalled and doesn't seem to be making any progress. Honorable Speaker, it is very difficult to draw the parallels between what we are benefiting as a community. In fact, EAC now seems to have become a cost center, whereby it's payments of salaries, funding of agencies that don't seem to have clear outputs. And I think before we progress much more on how to fund this institution, we must sit down and do a proper cost-benefit analysis. We must be able to come up with clear indicators that are going to show how, as a country, we are benefiting and deriving any benefits from this community. Honorable Speaker, I recall recently the country did pay very huge amounts of money to AUC. I think the country paid up to 1 billion Kenya shillings when Honorable Raila Odinga was contesting for the AUC chairman. Honorable Speaker, how I wish this amount of money would have been put to this EAC community to hopefully help to raise the standards and the quality and quantity of the output that we are having there. But now, Honorable Speaker, that has not happened. I'm told most of these other East African countries have pulled out in terms of their contributions. And why is it that countries are not seeing it important to put their money into this community? If it was important to them, they would put their money, because you put your investments where it matters. You put your investment where it is important. But now it looks like it's Kenya, which is probably more interested in this arrangement. Honorable Speaker, again, looking at what has been happening lately, you'd only say now the community is becoming an unholy alliance, whereby the EAC community is having some not very interesting collaboration on how to suppress human rights amongst the citizens of member states. If you look at the abductions that have happened and torture that has happened in our neighboring countries, Uganda, Honorable Chair, you realize that we are in a...
Your time is up. Honorable Member for Wajir North, Honorable Sanei.
Madam Speaker, thank you. I think it is time we review and revisit the entire Treaty of East African Community. Those days at the inception, it looked good, practicable, and at least made sense. But as it is now, given the diversity in in the democracies, demographic issues, different foreign relations or inclinations, I don't think that the East African community is holding us together as it used to be during its earlier days, Madam Speaker. There is some disintegration than integration, Madam Speaker. That's why I call on real review and of the treaty itself, so that we are back to where did we get wrong? What is it that is not working? And come up with a treaty that is friendly and workable for all the member states. In as much as we are expanding, Somalia is coming on board without making some changes. You see, I think each country has its own value system. And when you bring on board other member states, then there is the need to review the treaty in itself, Madam Speaker. There are concerns from the report that members do not give their contributions. One case that was seriously noted is the state of Congo. There must be reason why Congo is not contributing. There are political issues. There might be issues of stability. Congo has not been doing well politically also. So we must ask ourselves, why is Congo really not concerned to this block of being East African states? Unless we address the issues, the problems, then the Secretariat or whatever, the East African community may not be functional as we expect. There are even delayed contributions for those who are paying at their own whims without regard to timelines. And when you don't pay on time, you will affect so many things: the operations of the community, staffing issues, developmental issues. I mean, there shall be no plans of the East African community that works if these contributions are not paid on time, Madam Speaker. There has been serious accountability and transparency issues. It is clear to read from the report that the East African community, the community is corrupt. And if it is corrupt, what can the member states do to make sure that they solve that concern? They are not getting money, and the few they get belatedly are not spent prudently. So what can the community do to such concerns or observations of unaccountability, corruption, and lack of transparency? Then there is the concern of equal contribution by member states. It makes sense for member states to contribute equally so that they find themselves in equal footing in terms of power and negotiation. But in some levels, you will also realize if you will see some countries contributing more than the other, then we will be inculcating the aspect of, that big brother syndrome. The case of United Nations, where US calls the shots because they are the ones giving 70% of the budget. I think we need to rethink, to relook on what model is best. That countries should contribute,